Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Ad Astra Kansas Money Talks podcast. I'm Joe Blubaugh, and I'm joined as always by Mark Johnson and Bob Schwartz of Bob Schwartz Financial. They have offices in Victoria, Kansas, as well as Silver Lake, Kansas, where we're recording at today. And you can find out more about the services that they provide on their website at bobschwartzfinancial.com. Today we're going to talk about one of the most powerful habits you can have in building wealth, and that is automation. We're going to talk a little bit about paying yourself first and how when you pay yourself first, it becomes a habit. Habits over a long period of time can really lead to building some wealth. So I usually start with Mark. I'm going to actually start with Bob today.
What?
Yeah,
I'm not ready.
Question to you.
I'm not ready. Oh.
So tell me a little bit, in all your years of experience of doing this, why do you think it's important that people pay themselves first?
Every successful client I have had in 48 years paid themselves first. And, it's easy to do today through automation, through the 401k. But if I go back to, back when, we used landline phones and we used yellow legal pads to figure out what our dividends were going to be. People that put themselves, I was told this on my graduation day from college. Put 10% away for yourself, give 10% to the church, and you will never, ever have a problem financially in your life. It was great advice, and I'm going to give an example of paying yourself first and how it can become a habit. We're going to use farmers because we're kind of ag-centric. So I'm going to plant corn. I've got to put down pre-emergent. I got to put down some chemical of some type, and I'm going to find the money to do that, right? And I'm going to do that before I plant my crop and before I harvest. And every farmer I've ever known does that, right? And they either use cash that they have or they use a line of credit. But that's how we've always done it. And one of the things that we have the hardest time with ag producers is paying themselves first. They'll always, got to get that crop in. Put yourself, no matter if you're an ag producer, whatever you do, put yourself at the head of the line to be paid. And I do not have a client that had any success at all of accumulating, what any of us would call a fortune, that did not pay themselves first.
And Mark, let's dive into that term, pay yourself first. So I think most people have a pretty good idea of what that is, but maybe a quick definition or kind of the concept behind the term. Yeah,
it just pretty much means that you're going to save and invest before you spend. And so it flips the script for instead of saying, I'm going to save what's left over this month and I'm going to put it, into my Roth IRA or whatever. Instead it's, I'm going to put everything up front into those accounts. I'm going to pay myself into my retirement accounts or my savings accounts, whatever they are, your 401k, and I'm going to spend what's left. And it's a really good psychological tool. Psychology of Money talks about this a little bit, but making that easier on yourself, understanding I already put my savings in. I can spend this money that's in my account right now because I've already paid myself this month. So,
yeah, that's a really good point too, because when people think of savings, they think, okay, I've got my budget and I'm going to budget for all the things that I have to pay for, my, shelter, utilities, food, transportation. Those are the big ones, and I'm going to set aside that money, and then whatever's left, then I can
invest.
I can invest.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is, let's get the investment piece done first, and it's really powerful when you're working and you have a 401k. It literally comes out of your check right before you even see it, and then you budget the remainder of that.
Yep, exactly. And then sometimes there might be some left over from that too. And you're gonna you're gonna see yourself able to budget even better and save money in other ways that just psychologically how much it helps to have that portion taken away
then
first.
when you get, if you got, Yeah. My brother used to always say, I pay all my bills on the 1st and then I invest on the 12th. The 12th than ever. You know? And it's so true. It's so true. And yeah, I always use this story about my middle son. He doesn't mind me telling this. All my kids are really excellent, paying themselves first people now. But, you know, I didn't start out that way. I don't know about you guys. No. I didn't start out. All the good advice I got, I remember getting out of college and getting that first professional paycheck going, holy cow, I'm buying a pickup. And that's exactly what I went and did, you know. Yeah, I didn't get it either. But anyway, he'd always say, well, what good's it to put away $50? I'm going to wait till I got some real money. And I said, well, I'd always tell him, you'll never have any real money. And he wouldn't listen. And then finally he married a good little saving girl, and he figured out in a hurry that, hey, this works. And yeah, just whatever you can. And automation has, boy, does that make it easy compared to how it used to be.
Well, and let's talk about automation in a second. I want to go back to something you just said. And you said, well, I only have $50 to invest. I'm going to wait till I get some real money.
Right.
I think that's a concept that is worth diving into, because I've heard you say it before. It doesn't really matter where you start or how much you start with. It's the fact that you start. And maybe you can dive into that a little bit.
Mark and I have, Mark hasn't been in the business long enough to be able to say that they started with him. But Mark and I have clients that started out at $30 a month with me, and they're millionaires today. Not because of anything fantastic I did, some magic, nothing. We started out at $30 a month. You think about that, it's $1 a day. You know, that's not even a cup of coffee. And but what they did was they started. And when I started, I did much the same thing when I started the process of learning how to do it myself. And one thing I would tell people, that if you're not being successful at it, think of somebody in your family that is. You know, that everybody's family's got people that, you know, can't rub two nickels together, and then they've got the family members that are really good at it. And go to them and ask them, you know, what process do they use with their philosophy on getting some money put into savings.
Yeah, it's a great point. And when you start that habit early, even if you don't have a lot of spare money to invest, it starts a habit, and as you then start to make more money throughout your career, it's easier to invest more money as well.
Think about it. If you start out at $30 a month, and let's just say a lot of my clients back then were young, you know, my age. I was 26 when I started. And, you know, I was talking to people my age, and $30 a month was probably like, $100 a month today. But, you know, that was kind of what my age group could handle. And, but I would talk to them about how we're going to go up at least $10 a month per year. And a lot of those were school teachers, and I'd go see them at the start of school every year and just say, hey, did you get a raise? And, yeah, I want to put away another 30. I want to double it. Or they'd say, you know, we didn't get a pay raise last year. And I'd say, well, let's at least do 10. Well, at the end of 10 years, if you do $10 a year and start out at $30 a month, you're at $120 a month, you know. And 10 years later, you're at $220 a month. That makes a huge difference in long-term investing. Time you get 40 years in and your money's had that time to work, it's just amazing what can happen.
Yeah. So Bob kind of mentioned it. Mark, let's talk about automation, because as Bob said, you know, before it was very
write a check,
paper, write a check. Yep. And now a lot of this can happen, or most of it does happen, just with a click of a mouse button.
Yeah. The biggest thing with automation is it takes away that willpower. Like if you have it all set up, if you take the time, you get on to everything and you take it, hey, at this month, this is getting drawn. You just get that set up for all your accounts, for whatever your 401k, your Roth, whatever it is. Just that willpower aspect is huge. You don't have to worry about it. You're not having to, at the end of the month, being like, I could buy that thing that I want, maybe like a new pair of shoes, or I don't know, go to a game, whatever it is, or I could put this $100 away into my Roth IRA. Just taking that decision out of the equation right away is really powerful, and it ensures that every month that you are investing at the same time. So if you're trying to dollar cost average or something like that, it's really easy. Like, hey, I have $100 that I know is getting invested on the first of each month. That's very simple. It's a really good habit. And then you don't worry. Then you don't get stuck into trying to time the market. You're consistently investing into the market. You're not going to hit the all-time highs. You might not, or you might hit small-time highs. You might hit small-time lows. But you are being consistently investing in the market.
And I really wanted to focus on that because as we record this, the markets have been so volatile over the last couple of months, and I'm sure you guys have seen it. You guys have told me, some stories, and I know human nature. Some people are pulling out of the market, but some people just are pausing their investments right now because it's just, the markets are down. Dollar cost averaging is huge and such a good concept.
Don't change course.
Yeah.
Don't change course. Yeah. We have no problem with that because our clients they have stated goals and we understand where we're going, and we're not going to reach them unless we stay the course. But yeah, so many of it, so much of it's paying yourself. I think about how electronic things are today, and you guys probably you seldom write checks, correct?
Almost never.
Yeah, very rarely.
Yeah, and we have the capability today in the investment industry to have automatic payments just like all of us do in our checking accounts. And if you just set that up to have that money go into your account each month, same time you're paying your bills, you're going to be in great shape.
I'll tell a personal story here. So my wife and I, our goal was always to max our Roth every year, our Roth IRA. And at one point it was $5,000, and then it was up to $6,000. The amount doesn't really matter, but I was the guy that was like, I'll write that check at the end of the year. And two things that I was doing wrong there was, one, I wasn't dollar cost averaging. So if I hit a bad time, if the market was super high at that point, I'm buying at the top. So that was one thing I was doing wrong. Of course, the second part of that is just what you talked about. It really hurts, even though you're paying yourself. It really hurts to see $10,000 or $12,000. When you're doing both. Your max come out of your account. And since then, over the last several years, it's now just automatic.
It falls
automatic.
into property tax. When you're funding once a year, it falls into an insurance premium. Like your homeowners, or it's a pain in the rear. Yes,
it hurts to write that check.
The great thing about investing, as opposed to having those once a year bills versus paying your insurance monthly or what, is you're not charged to invest monthly. There's not, on auto insurance or homeowners insurance, if you pay monthly, they charge you a fee to do that. In the investment industry, no, it's all going to work for you. So,
and we're talking about the investing side of it, but when we talk about automation, that automation is more than just investing good habits. It's also like paying your bills. You can set up automation for, your all your payments. So it's really a good habit, just money wise, more than just investing as well.
Yeah, one thing that I hear more and more people talk about is like having their credit card automatically pay on a certain, like how easy is that now on your phone? You can just get on there and say, on this month I want you to pay the balance off, and there's so many people that are into the, get so many points and do this, pay for your vacation. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, if you have that process and have those safeguards set up like that, I mean, that's pretty cool that some of those people are able to game the system like that.
Yeah. Mark, let's talk a few minutes about how somebody might want to set up or the process to pay yourself first. What's the main takeaway people need to know there?
Yeah. You need to know how much money you're making. So what's your take-home pay? You need to figure that out with you, or just you and your wife figure that out. And then you need to decide what you're going to pay yourself percentage-wise. You do need to factor in probably your 401k or whatever you have going on at work. But other than that, be thinking about your Roth IRAs, which we've already talked about. What's your goal for the year? Is it to max it out? Do we want to make sure that I'm paying, I think right now it'd be like $360 some a month a piece to max that out? Or do I want, do we just want to say $100? You have to figure that out. You need to figure out how much you want into maybe go into your emergency fund, high yield savings account, whatever that is. And then you need to actually schedule it for your payday. So as soon as you get paid, you want to then pay yourself first. Okay, so payday on the first, schedule it that same day where those things go straight into paying yourself. And then make sure you're looking at all the different accounts that they're all working together. Your savings, checking, and investment account should all be linked with automation. And then make sure you're reviewing that at least, I'd say at the most quarterly, and not constantly. Don't tinker with it. Like, go with your plan. If there's a big change, maybe every quarter, like, hey, I need to up this, or this is a struggle, we need to pull this back. But at least give it those couple months there to figure out if this plan is working for you.
So, Bob, one of the things that I heard Mark say without actually saying it is one of the most important things to doing this is having a budget, setting a budget, and sticking to that. Because if you don't have a budget, it's kind of hard to figure out what you need to save or how much you can save. Would you say that budgeting is really a key to the success that you've seen with a lot of your clients?
I think it's terribly important, and I think it's absolutely amazing how many people don't have a budget. They don't have any idea how much they spend, and they don't have a budget set up to framework that expensing. So, yeah, we generally keep one or two. I call them Capital Dome books. They're a ledger that you can keep track of everything you spend on it, and we've given that to clients. It's fantastic if they'll use it, but there's also online tools that you can budget with that I've heard are fantastic also. The key thing that I want to point out to people my age that might watch this is you've done a good job of accumulating when you don't have to budget anymore, and when you're still doing your savings and you're still doing your stuff, and you don't have to worry about it. You have some capacity, but when you're young and you're still working on getting that capacity in your budget into your life plan, you need to sit down and go, wow, I didn't realize we were spending that much.
Absolutely.
I need to quit stopping and getting an $8 coffee every morning or whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's obviously one of the pitfalls that somebody can have, or a mistake that they make through this process, is not having a good handle on their budget. What are some other areas where people tend to make mistakes or could potentially make mistakes as they go through this process?
Yeah, the first one I'd say when we talk about the budgeting aspect that you just went through, if you, like we talked about, if you pay yourself first, you have more freedom with what you buy. So, like Bob brings up the $8 cup of coffee. If you've already paid yourself first, and you have this certain amount, you can feel good about stopping and doing the things you enjoy. Because you've already paid yourself at the beginning of the month. That's one of my favorite things from a book that I read was, do the things you enjoy, but do it after you've paid yourself. But the other thing I'd say, not adjusting. Make sure like your income changes probably every year. Make sure you're adjusting like I said, every quarter, but for sure every year. don't overcomplicate it. Don't do 50 different things and try to game the system in ways that make it a little murky. Like, have a set goal and stick to that set goal. Maybe that is max your Roth and save a certain percentage in my 401k every year, and then adjust those goals as needed. But don't make anything too crazy, too complicated.
To add to that, because of the age I'm at and the things that I see, the clients that we've had for a long time, where you want. When I was young, I'd sit there and think, why do I want to save? What does it matter? And I get it because I understand that feeling. But if you'll set up yourself starting out small and to reach those goals, someday you can set and not worry and know that if we have a long-term care event, I'm going to be able to handle it. If I want to go somewhere, we're going to be able to go do that. We're going to be able to enjoy the fruits of those labors. And then once you get there and you're halfway there and you're still at the, not starting gate, but you're still in the first 10 yards of your sprint, you will look back and go, the climb was a lot better than not better, but the climb was all the fun. It's kind of like the old story of sleeping in a tent and then getting a cabin and then getting a house. You look back and there was a lot of fun and a lot of work and a lot of sweat getting there. But that's the other thing that people that don't get started understanding that, they'll never get to enjoy that. And Mark and I see that when people are in retirement and they have to worry and they have to be concerned all the time about are they going to have enough money because they didn't start early enough. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that way. You can break that mold and you can have all you ever wanted in retirement.
Yeah, and I like to think about my own personal journey because I was a late starter when it came to investing. I was older than you are now when I really put my first dollars in the market, and it's never too late. I'll just put it that way. If you can get in there and get started, I like the term, I've heard it, I've used it on this podcast before. Time in the market is way more important than timing the market, but that time in the market, getting started early, and the power of compound interest is quite amazing. So,
Amen.
As we kind of wrap up this episode, that's really the thing that I'm taking away from this episode is don't be afraid to start early, even if you don't feel like you have that much to invest, because it all matters, and the earlier you can get it started, the better.
Yep.
We would invite folks to give us a call and talk with us about our dividend income story, because the eighth wonder of the world has I don't know who said that. Is that a Buffett or I don't know who said it, but power. Oh, Einstein supposedly,
yeah.
But it's not. I guess it's not proven who said it, but that the eighth wonder of the world is compounding of money. And it is amazing when you look at what investing in great American companies that have a history of increasing their dividends, what that has the potential to do in terms of having all the income you need at retirement. And once we retire, whether it's me or Joe or Mark or you sitting out there, that's what's important. It's not how much you accumulated, it's how much income is that going to give me during my years of not being productive.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Mark, anything else to add? Maybe some homework for some of our viewers, maybe how they can get started?
Yeah, I would just review if you have direct deposits. See what you see what you have going on. Look at if you are maxing your Roth, or what's your 401k contribution, and match that up and see if you have an automation process going, or if that's something you need to look at.
Yeah, and definitely, I know we say it on here all the time, but take advantage of that match you might get at your where you work at.
Yeah.
Make
Yes.
sure you're not letting that fall off the table. That's part of your salary as well, and ties in greatly to automating your investing strategies.
You
So,
can't imagine how many retirement plans we have where it's always young people. I'm not picking on young people, but that's when it's hardest, or when we're
You don't know any better.
yeah, and they won't be in it when they're getting a 3% match. They can double their money just by putting a little bit away. Yeah, absolutely.
for sure. All right, so with that, we'll wrap this up. Once again, if you'd like to learn more about what these gentlemen do, and maybe let them help you as you start to automate your investing strategy, you can find them on bobschwartzfinancial.com, offices in Victoria and Silver Lake, Kansas. Mark, Bob, thank you so much for your time today. Listeners, thanks again for watching. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and have a great day.
Thanks, Joe.